What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. And I'm here to give you my movie review. Anytime there's a boxing related movie, you know I'm always game to watch it. I watched Manny the movie, I think it was last week, and I want to give my review for those who haven't seen it. And you know I got the little boxing connect, so I get the movies early and whatnot. But I want to give you my thoughts on the movie. I'm gonna break it down as I seen it, my honest opinion. And it was a good movie. It's a good feel good type of movie. I'm going to tell you the pros and cons that I seen in the fight. Now it opens up and Manny Pacquiao's he's like near his bed by the kind of by on the side of his bed in like a praying position, and he starts narrating it. He says, "Why do I box?" And I was like, "Okay, little Pacquiao got his little acting chops on." Another disclaimer or whatever for the movie: it is subtitled, so you have to watch it in subtitles. There's parts where they speak Tagalog, and it's not you if unless you speak Tagalog, you're not gonna understand it. So you have to get the English subtitles for that aspect of it. But what I really liked is the first half of this movie, man, because it's the triumph to see Pacquiao come from the impoverished areas of the Philippines. He was saying like he had to sell donuts and cigarettes, and he was really one thing I really commend Pacquiao for is getting out of that environment and not just doing it for himself, but his main mission was to always come back and help his family. Like they tell you, I don't want to give too much of it away, but some of you guys already know all of the Pacquiao story. Pacquiao, he was a stowaway on a ship to go fight in a different part of the Philippines, I believe, and he had to pretend he was older because he couldn't get fights. And at the time, he only weighed 90 pounds. So he said he would put heavy objects into his pants to make him appear like because they had a weight requirement. You had to weigh a certain amount to get a fight. So he would put heavy objects in his pocket. So realistically, when he first started fighting the Philippines, he was just all guts and glory because he was younger than all these other opponents because he lied about his age. And also, he didn't even really meet the required rate to be fighting these dudes. So you got to give him a lot of credit for that. They talk about just the separation and the Philippines being at war when he was coming up. He was like talking about the rebels and basically seeing executions and shit, and the whole country being in fear. So that was interesting to know. He said it got so bad. I think he seen a murder or something when he was young. He was very 4 or 5 years old, and he seen someone get shot and killed, and his family worried about their safety, so they end up moving into town, a different part of the Philippines. And he says his first time seeing a car, an automobile, he was like scared. He didn't know what it was. And that just goes to show you at different parts of the world, things we take for granted, like a car. You know what I mean? I'll walk out any given day and I'll see a ton of cars. But to someone else, that might be foreign. And you got to respect that. He also was talking about having a TV for the first time. He thought there were actual people inside the TV. He said he was looking in the back of the TV thinking actual people were inside it. He didn't understand the technology. So I really enjoyed the first half of this movie because it's an eye opener to see what these fighters go through, and Pacquiao in particular for this movie. Fast forward to his career, he was fighting a ton of times in the Philippines, impressive wins, and he was providing his family a better life. And then it got to a point where he got to a position where he was like, I gotta outgrow my immediate surroundings. So he came over to the States. He ended up partnering up with Freddie Roach, and the rest is history. And it's always great just seeing archive footage. They were showing some of his fights in the Philippines. They show early training videos and mitt work with Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach is doing interviews talking about how he met Pacquiao and how he helped improve his right hand. He said Pacquiao wasn't really confident with the right. And then they show a ton of archive footage from the Barrera fight and other fights. So I enjoyed it. Liam Neeson, I will say this. I first heard Liam Neeson was the narrator for this, I was like, okay, cool. Taken, Schindler's List, Liam Neeson, he's a good actor and whatnot. But for some reason, it didn't feel right with him doing the narration, in my opinion. Like when I watched HBO 24/7 and Liev Schreiber is narrating, it sounds like the perfect voice. But it just seemed a bit off with Liam Neeson because he has an accent and whatnot. It didn't seem like it fit the tone of the movie. But it was good. Like I said, it's a coming of age story. Pacquiao's talking about his life in the Philippines, how he used to help the local fishermen just to get fish and food, dinner. There'd be days where he went without food, coming over to the States, making a name for himself, beating the likes of Marco Antonio Barrera. They also talk about his fight with Lelo Ladoabwa, who was out of South Africa, and he was expected to lose. So again, it's kind of an eye opener because you you look at names on a resume who fighters sometimes they don't live up to their potential or they take losses and then they continually decline from there. But you have to look at these fights at the time, and at the time when Pacquiao like defeated him, that was a big deal. He took that fight on short notice, and he was the heavy underdog. So I got to give props to Pacquiao for taking fights like that, and then just his rise to fame. They also fast forward to the Marquez fights. Marquez felt he was robbed. They talk about Pacquiao's addiction to gambling, drinking heavily, having mistresses, being around the wrong element, and eventually Jinky had enough and she bounced and left him. She was like, "Fuck this," you know what I mean? He's having affairs and shit. It's not the life I want to live. And that coincidentally was right around the time of the Marquez 3 fight. I still to this day think Marquez won that particular fight. And you could tell Pacquiao walking out, it didn't seem like the same Pacquiao. Like just watching it all in hindsight, didn't look like the same Pacquiao. Normally he was coming out and like Brandon Rios fight, even though he had been knocked out, he's coming out smiling. His beard was all like mangy and he just was looking down. You have to watch the movie. And I was just like, damn, it puts things in perspective. And yeah, it looks like I'm not making excuses because either way, I mean, it's not Marquez's fault if Pacquiao's going through marital problems. And I still think Marquez won the third fight. However, it looked like something was wrong with him. Even at the post-fight presser, he's like, I did my best, and he's like stuttering real bad, and I don't know, his head looked like, I don't know, maybe the marriage thing was really fucking with him at the time. Then they talk about the knockout. They actually open up with the knockout. I mean, if you're a boxing fan, that's not really a shock that he got knocked out by Marquez 4. You already know that. And they kind of break down the fight. They show the Bradley fight, the whole controversy behind that. Pacquiao kept a positive attitude with his losses, and overall, I just think he's a good dude. Now, again, aside from Liam Neeson and the narration seemed a little bit off, to me, I thought as the movie progressed, like it started off real good. Like you're seeing the poverty and the Philippines at war. Then you're seeing early vintage tape of him training and his fights in the Philippines and knockouts. So it was like a roller coaster ride, and it was very exciting. But I would say about midway through, it kind of just like leveled out. It kind of hit that plateau, especially when they start talking about his congressional stuff and him being distracted. Then there's another part with this documentary where they're showing him, and it's not like a quick clip. It's like a lengthy clip of him singing, and that to me that just messed with the whole tone of the movie. Like you can't show me a bunch of action and drama and all the makings of a good movie, and you know what I mean, we're expecting that incline, you're expecting it to, you know what I mean, crescendo to something, and then you show me a lengthy clip of Pacquiao singing or trying to sing, and then they show he was in this movie in the Philippines where he played a superhero, just shit like that. I thought that should have been some deleted scenes or some shit. I don't think that should have been included in the actual movie because it kind of, like, this is a coming of age, triumphant tale of a warrior, and then you're showing some side shit of Pacquiao singing and playing superheroes and shit. To me, I thought that was unnecessary. Like I said, I would have, if I was directing this, because I do the directing and editing, I probably would have left that as more or less a deleted scene because it kind of messed with the pacing of the movie. And then other than that, they kind of ended how they ended Pacquiao. Another thing that's really, you have to put in perspective when you watch this. This dude has a fucking nation behind him. He really has people who their whole lives stop. Like the crime rate goes down when he's fighting in the Philippines. The crime rate goes down, and it's like the world stops in the Philippines. Like this is really their savior. This is really their national hero. You know what I mean? Aside from the Congress stuff, we already know we got into that, but it's good to see because they show like archive footage of the Philippines during his fights, and they're really rejoicing, man, and it makes you feel good because to see how one person's success can affect a whole mass of people, that's good, and I like to see stuff like that. Just how him getting out of the environment he was in leads to the joy and other people to pursue boxing, other people to feel like there's a hope. That's special, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause not everyone can do that. Not everyone, you know what I mean? Like, certain people can become successful, but he's not going to influence and impact people. It's not going to give people hope. But Pacquiao does just that, so you got to give the man credit. Another thing, I know I'm a little bit out of order, but they covered the De La Hoya fight, and it's good. Again, just remembering this stuff. Like when I'm younger and stuff, I don't remember all of the details and stuff, so it's good to have someone recap this. And one thing I don't really remember, I knew Pacquiao jumped up 2 weight classes to face De La Hoya, even though De La Hoya, a lot of people feel he was drained or whatever. He still jumped up 2 weight classes to do it. And then another thing is they were actually protesting this fight in the Philippines because they thought they thought De La Hoya was way too big and that it was too dangerous. And the Congress in the Philippines, they were trying to ban this fight and stop it from happening. So just to put it in perspective, like, damn, it was a big deal. You know what I mean? We all know Pacquiao ran through De La Hoya, but just to remember, those were the odds he was up against. People thought he was going to actually lose his life or get killed by De La Hoya. So even with the catch weight, I mean, it wasn't a catch weight, but even with De La Hoya coming down and possibly being weight drained, it's still, you got to give him credit for something, because people thought, his own community thought he was going to get killed in this fight by De La Hoya, like literally, like to the point where they're protesting and trying to ban the fight from even happening. So it's not that they weren't confident in their fighter, they just thought it was asking too much of Pacquiao. So I thought that was interesting. They also show Bob Arum talking about Antonio Margarito, and just to see the bullshit Bob Arum was talking about, he was basically like, right is right, fair is fair. You can't condemn, like he's basically saying you can't condemn Margarito for the Mosley situation, which is bullshit. It sounds like the motherfucker was cheating, and you're a promoter, so you're gonna try to tell the fans like this is a fight that should be happening, and you can't condemn him for cheating, basically. But Bob Arum's a promoter, so he's gonna do what he's doing. They show that, and they show the Antonio Margarito fight. Another thing about that fight is we know Pacquiao beat the shit out of Margarito, fucked his whole eye up. But I told you guys on my channel, Margarito was doing, it gets overshadowed. Margarito was landing some vicious body shots, but it gets overshadowed because he got his ass beat primarily. You know what I mean? For the most part, it was the Pacquiao show. But Margarito hurt Pacquiao, and some people don't remember that. But Pacquiao even talks about this in the documentary, saying that was his most difficult fight. And I don't remember knowing that. I don't remember knowing Pacquiao's on record saying that was a lot. It was asking a lot of him. He said it was his most difficult fight. I don't remember ever hearing Pacquiao say that. And it's crazy because he pretty much had a poker face and made it look like easy work and beat the shit out of Margarito. So to hear Pacquiao say that was interesting. Show Alex Ariza and Michael Conks. And one thing I was surprised with, they didn't hold back on when it comes to Michael Conks. I guess a lot of people on Pacquiao's team don't fuck with him. They don't like Michael Conks at all. They think he's a jerk, he's an asshole, and not an overall good entity or good element in Team Pacquiao. And people were candid and open about that. They also talk about Manny Pacquiao and his previous managers who were basically extorting him. They had a side deal where the promoter was working with his managers or some shit, give him a cut of Pacquiao's money, and basically money that Pacquiao was rightfully owed, Pacquiao was never seeing because his managers and his promoter at the time had some kind of side deal, and Pacquiao had to sue him and stuff. So I've covered enough. Watch it if you get the opportunity. It's still a good one. I don't rate it higher than Tapia. I think Tapia, just the tumultuous life and the drug use and stuff, it had a little bit more of a documentary and a real movie feel. And I thought the pacing of Tapia was better, but definitely a good watch. I would definitely recommend you guys watch the Manny movie. Drop me a comment if you've watched it. Let me know what you guys think. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.